Hi, everybody. Hi, welcome to our guide spotlight. Today, we're going to meet Ceaux LC Chitty, otherwise known as Girl on a Bus. And I'm going to tell you, there was some debate on how to pronounce her name, but I know I got it right. I know I got it right. Let's welcome her and see what she has to say about it. I got the name right.
Almost.
It's not
It's
Sue?
no, it's Co. Like Tiffany and
Oh,
Co. Because it's a New Orleans cultural thing. So in New Orleans, they add an EAUX
I
instead of an
see.
O. So when they had their snow day a couple of weeks ago, it was a SNEAUX day in New Orleans.
That is
Or
so
when they're cheering for the Saints, it's Go Saints, GEAUX. So my legal name is Corrine,
yeah.
and I've been called Co most of my life. And then through my spending a lot of time in New Orleans, I got the idea one day. My volunteer leader was wearing a shirt from the University of New Orleans, and it was U.N.EAUX. And so I said to him, "What's this EAUX thing, man?" And he goes, "It's O." And I was like, because I see it everywhere. I said, "So if I'm Co, like CO,
Right.
I go, I could be Co CEAUX." And he's like, "Do it. Yes."
So that was the debate. So somebody that I was debating with about how your name was pronounced said, no, it's it's probably so because a bow, and I'm like, no, it's got to be shoe. But I never asked you about it because I wanted everybody to hear the real pronunciation from
Thank
you.
you.
But
Most
also,
people
I was
most
sure
people
that was
say
right.
so. So that's the most common one
All right. Well, you learn something new every day, and we're
every
about to
day.
learn a lot more about you. And, I always like to play a little bit of music. And for some reason, this song has been on my mind for like a week when I think about you. So let's see what you think about this. It's not exactly uh, some of the stuff that you told me about, but this song has been on my mind while I was thinking about you. Let's see. Okay, it's coming.
Yep.
I've been thinking about this song and you all week,
That is a good choice. That is definitely a good choice.
right? And this was like it's called Street View Dixie Club or something, right? So anyway, uh, you sent me a lot of pictures, which
I
I
did.
love because pictures really guide the guide spotlight, and it really is a way to keep it moving along, and it's a way for you to share things about yourself that people that go on your tours would know. Because when you're live streaming, you're not live streaming about yourself,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yep.
sure, we all throw in little tidbits, right, of ourselves, but you're live streaming, you're talking about that. And so I think these guide spotlights are a fantastic way for people to get to know our guides. Hello, Lynn. Lynn is with us.
All
Oh,
right.
happy Valentine's Day, Lynn. I know it's Valentine's Day in Australia. It's not Valentine. And you have a Valentine, Lynn. You have Richard. So it's all the more exciting for you. I have two dogs that have attitudes. So it's not quite the same. All right. Uh, let's let's take a look at some of these pictures. Oh, and I have to tell you, Lynn, because I think Lynn and I debated on how to pronounce your name. Um, it's Co. Like like I would get that if it was CO or KO, but it's Co. That's what. See, I almost said I'm so stubborn. I almost said it's pronounced Co because that's what Sue told me. What a wreck. All right, Co. This looks like it looks like a Lego of you.
It is a Lego minifigure. So I work at the Lego store here in the Vancouver area. And when they were advertising, I'm trying to remember, and judging from the color of my hair, it was probably when we first opened the Oak Ridge store. Somewhere in that time, they actually put in a big mural in the SkyTrain station that I used to go to work. And it was actually one of my coworkers came out of the train one day and sent the picture immediately to the store because it was actually 4 different minifigures, I think it was, or 3. And they looked exactly like 3 of us from our team at Lego.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm like, that looks like a Lego.
It is.
Definitely a Lego. And I had no idea that you work at the Lego store.
Yes, it is my it's what I call my permanent job. So I work there on a part-time basis year round. And that one kind of keeps me going. And then I work in tourism as well with Gray Line West Coast Sightseeing. So
now, those Harry Potter logos are crazy right now, right?
Yes. Actually, any Lego right now is ridiculously sought after.
But the Harry Potter ones, I belong to a couple different Harry Potter groups, and people go bananas.
Oh, absolutely. Every time we have a new release, it's a crazy day. And I remember when we first, I think it was a re-release for Harry Potter back in I'm going to say 2013 maybe or something. And I think they had some Harry Potter Lego previous, but a while before that. And they were releasing 7 new sets, starting with the giant, I don't know, castle or something. And it was almost like the boxes went down in size, almost like the 3 Bears, right?
Yeah.
And we had just all this, we didn't even put it on the shelf because we knew it wasn't going to stay on the shelf. We had it all lined up behind our massive cash wrap center. So there was 4 cash stations, and all the Harry Potter Lego was on the back counter and in our area. And all we did was a person would walk up and go, I'll take one of everything. And we just put it on the counter, rang them through, put it in the bag, and sent them out the door and rang through the next person. And
I love Legos, but I know that those, and I love Harry Potter, but I know that those Lego sets have got to be just priced crazy.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm not even trying to go there. But I do love Harry Potter and Co. It's not the big castle. It's called Hogwarts.
Yes.
And Hogwarts, it looks like it's a school.
Right.
So
yes.
It's not predominantly known as a castle. I'm just trying to help you out so that, you sound very knowledgeable, because the Harry Potter people will cast a spell on you if you don't get it right.
True, but that's okay. I have connections in New Orleans. I can cast spells back too. So
you would have to, because they might turn you into a chocolate frog. It might happen.
Right, I mean, in my defense, to me, anything that's large and spectacular is a castle.
Okay. All right. I listen, I can go along with that.
I mean, I'm princessy. I'm not a huge Disney fan, other than I love Princess and the Frog, but I appreciate a good building that looks like a castle.
Sure. Nothing, I think most girls do. Oh, and Lynn is even taking my instruction further, and she said it's a school for witches and wizards.
That part I did know, because I read up when we get new stuff coming, new sets coming in. We do a little bit of product knowledge, and I have friends that are like fairly into Harry Potter. So I know the whole wizard school stuff, and I think that's pretty cool. And I read the set names, and it kind of alludes to some of the things within the series, which is pretty cool.
So you're telling me you have never seen Harry Potter?
No.
Oh, I find that shocking and disturbing, both equally massive emotions at the same time.
I like to tell everybody I was a hipster before hipster was cool.
Yes.
And I tend to not follow mainstream. I very much tend to do my own thing and things that I know I already know I love. With the exception of a few things in my life where I hear it enough and eventually I go, okay, I need to know what this is all about. But I tend to, I would never read a book, watch a movie, or do anything based on someone telling me to do it. In fact, that makes me not want to do it.
Huh. Okay, you little rebel. You little rebel. Now, tell me about this picture. I'm going to tell you, my first thought when I saw this picture was, why is Ceaux in between a plantation owner and one of his workers?
It is actually the pirate Jean Lafitte. And the
Then
lady,
I saw this next picture and I thought, oh, maybe they're pirates. Maybe it's not a slave and a horrible plantation owner.
No, those are two totally different. They're in two different countries, two different cities, and two different events.
But you see how
The
I
lady,
made the connection? I made
sorry?
the connection. I'm like, maybe they're pirate people.
It is you got the connection right. It is pirates. The lady on the left is actually Marie Laveau.
Okay.
And so at Christmas time in New Orleans, they have, I think it's 12 characters known from New Orleans or Louisiana history. And they dress up and they wander the French Quarter, like for the whole, from the middle of November to the first week of January. And they're the New Orleans living history characters. And I had found out about them and I thought, how cool would that be to be able to find them? And of course, they wander the French Quarter. So every time I go to New Orleans, I pick a theme. That weekend's or week's theme was find the living history characters. And so I went everywhere. I spent so much time in the French Quarter, which I don't normally spend all my time there, but I was determined to find them. And everywhere I went, they'd be like, oh, you just missed, Marie Laveau or Countess Pontalba or Jean Lafitte or Iberville or Bienville or any of those guys. And I was getting so frustrated. And on the Sunday, I had gone to church. I'm like, I was going to head down to the quarter and I'm going to go find a restaurant I've never been to before because I'm feeling dejected that I haven't managed to meet the living history characters. So I'm sitting there and I'm going through my phone and I'm looking at different restaurants. And I forgot that on Sunday, a lot of restaurants are closed in New Orleans. And so it was slim pickings. And I was like, my gosh, I've never been to Two Jogs yet. I'm going to go to Two Jogs today. So I walk into Two Jogs, which is a very, very fancy, elegant restaurant. And often they'll do the prix dinner for like $100, but that was not in my budget that day. But they were having a normal day. And so I'm like, I'm going to go. So I go and the gal starts to walk me to my table and I look to the left and there is an entire table of all the living history characters having lunch.
How fantastic.
And I looked at the lady and I said, I'm so sorry. I don't normally get starstruck, but is that who I think it is? Are those the living history characters? She's like, yeah. Why don't you go say hi? And I was like, oh, no, I can't no, I can't just walk over there. And so she seats me at my table and she goes away and I'm just like, okay, I need to pull it together. I really would love a picture with them.
Oh, don't feel bad about feeling like that because I'm sure that that's how everybody feels when they see me eating in a restaurant.
Yeah.
Oh my
Right?
God.
And me generally, you know?
Oh my God. Oh, hi,
So,
Mary Lou. Mary Lou just joined us. She said
oh, hey, Mary Lou.
she always
Um,
wanted to go to New Orleans.
wouldn't you know, my waitress, my server, went over to the table and said, excuse me, there's a lady over here who's been dying to meet you all weekend. And they were like, and they're in character. Like when they're in costume, they do not flinch from the character. Oh, my dear, this is tragic news that she was dying to meet us. And so they were like, well, could you do us a favor? Could you send the lovely young lady over so we could say hello to her? And they ended up inviting me to sit with them and join them for lunch.
How lovely. That's lovely. I like
And,
that. We have
and I,
living history docents and characters that walk around in old SAT, mostly on the weekends though.
yeah, I've
But
heard about that too.
and I always thought, oh, that would kind of be a really cool job, to do that. Well, I guess it's not really a job. I think they're probably volunteers. I don't know. So
Yeah, I'm not sure.
now this is a pirate that I thought was related to that. Well,
Ah,
I said I don't think that Coe is visiting a plantation. I said,
no.
and then I said, oh, maybe it's the pirate. And I love a good pirate. I love what they stand for, and I'm all about the pirate. Listen, I have a sign, one of my favorite signs in my art studio that says, "Drinking rum before 10 a.m. makes you a pirate, not an alcoholic." And I live by that. That's a commandment for me.
I might start living by that one too. I love a good rum. I had a few of those last night at we had a Valentine's Christmas party for Greyline last night, and we had an Elvis impersonator, and all my managers kept slipping me drink tickets all night.
Those Elvis impersonators are a lot of fun. I used to go to a
It was a
restaurant
riot.
around here, and on I think Friday and Saturday nights they'd have an Elvis impersonator, and it was a lot of fun. He's a lot of fun. So tell me about this fella here.
Um, oh my gosh, I'm trying to remember his name. It was a really odd name. So I used to work for Rocky Mountaineer, which is that world-class luxury train. And it, of course, runs out of Vancouver. I did not work on board the train. I worked in the Vancouver station and ended up becoming a trainer for them, for the station staff. This gentleman here was one of the managers who did one of my series of interviews for me for Rocky Mountaineer. And we hit it off in spite of the fact that I cannot seem to remember. I think it started with a Z or something odd. And we had a lot of fun whenever he rolled in on the train. We'd stop and chat for a minute, or I'd always come visit his train cars or area on the train to say hello to him before the train left in the morning. And this was, I think, the staff party. The second year I worked for the company, they had it down on the waterfront here in Vancouver. And it was a dress up event, and it was a big thing. Like, we would spend weeks talking about what we were wearing and how we were dressing up. And it was meant to be like a formal, semi-formal occasion.
So this is not his everyday attire then.
I mean, I don't know. I only saw him in the train uniform. Maybe it is. Maybe this is the real. I think it was Zeb. I think that was his name, Zebaniah or something like that. Zeb.
Because
Zeb's
I was
coming to
going to say
mind.
I wasn't aware that pirates traveled by train.
Yeah. Well, maybe the new breed of pirates travel by train.
By land and by sea, I guess, right? Cute picture. All right. Now, okay, well, so when I saw this, I thought, oh my goodness, she's either working for Santa in the workshop or Build-A-Bear. And the Build-A-Bear was the right answer.
Yes. This was actually the very last shift I worked at Build-A-Bear. I was there for 10 years.
Whoa.
And I feel like that's actually a big part of how I learned to be a storyteller and be able to think on my feet so quickly, because I don't know how much you know about Build-A-Bear. You get to go in, pick a teddy bear to bring to life. We do a little heart ceremony after we stuff it. But we have to do, or we had to do, a different heart ceremony with every single guest. So if you've ever been to Build-A-Bear and you've been like, oh, that's really cool, they must learn it from a script. No, we were responsible for coming up with our own heart ceremonies. So I would look at whoever it was in front of me. You get adults, I had big biker dudes making them for their girlfriends, because they basically were like, you better make me a bear this Valentine's Day or I'm going to break up with you. And so I'd have to get everybody to do a heart ceremony. And you basically have to get to know them really quickly. Hey, hi, welcome. What's your name? Write their name on the tag. And, what brings you in today? Obviously, you're making the bear. What's the occasion for the bear? And I would get everything from, I just scored my first goal in soccer, to like, I graduated from university. I'm going to use this to ask this girl I like to be my girlfriend. It's my 50th anniversary. This is my baby. They need to give up their soothers. So we're putting the soother inside the bear. And we even once put somebody's dog's ashes inside a bear for them.
Wow.
As a keepsake. And so you get everything under the sun. And there's like the standard parts, like rub the heart, warm it up. That's what you do for all of them. But then you had to do 3 things for each guest that made it different from the person ahead of them, ahead of them, ahead of them. And they're all standing in line watching the whole thing going on. So you're under pressure. And the worst is, like, you got to be like, please, I got to remember what I've done. So I don't, and on days when you have 20 bears in line waiting to be stuffed, you got to remember what you've done for all 20 of those bears and not do the same thing.
Right.
And
I've never been in a Build-A-Bear. I was actually waiting for them to branch off with a new franchise called Build-A-Man.
Yeah.
And then I was going to be in there every day.
You and me both.
But they didn't do it.
I was on TikTok last night, just kind of scrolling before bed, and I had to laugh because, I don't know, it came up on my For You page, and I must have been talking about Build-A-Bear or something around my phone recently. And some lady was going on about how they had these new, I think it was Build-A-Bear ads, and I don't remember if she was saying it was during the Super Bowl. I think she said it was like, of all the ads during the Super Bowl, this one was crazy. And Build-A-Bear has started doing an adult line.
Huh.
And if you go on the website, you have to prove that you're 18 to go in, or older to go into that part of the website and everything. And they have like, one's dressed in lingerie. They might have a bottle of champagne or a margarita, and they have names like Cougar Kate or something like.
My good, who knew?
Never in my 10 years at Build-A-Bear would I have ever thought they would do something like that.
Who knew? Build-A-Bear is a little bit risque. All right, tell me about this picture. And I know that the storyline to this picture begins in Nashville. And someplace else, right?
It actually, I think we were leaving. One of my good friends and I were on a road trip. We were getting ready to go do the Blues Highway, but we had a few stops first. So we flew into Charleston, left Charleston after an overnight, and we were driving on the highway. And, girls, we got a Krispy Kreme. We just had a coffee. We needed to pee. And she's like, well, we'll just take the next exit, right? And I believe firmly everything happens for a reason, like everything. And that's why I always do plans loosely for vacations, because I fear that I'm going to miss out on something really awesome if I plan everything out. So we take that next exit off the highway. And as we go over onto the other side to go towards the gas station, I'm always looking at everything around me. I look and I'm like, ha ha ha. First of all, we're in Harlem, Georgia. Like, so that's kind of like, I always only knew of Harlem in New York. And then I look and I'm like, wait a minute, there's a Laurel and Hardy museum? Are you kidding? And Rebecca was like, no, we have to, like, oh yeah, like, we have to do this. And so we quickly went up to the gas station, got another drink, get back in the car, and we drive down into the 3 blocks of downtown Harlem and go to the museum, and the Laurel and Hardy Museum. And there's nobody there because it's like a Wednesday or something like that, maybe, or a Thursday. And we got a full, like, they walk us through the whole museum. It was really fun. We got to do our pictures there. Then they had a huge mural on the side of a building, because of course we went and explored the town after that. Like, why not? And they had this huge mural of Laurel and Hardy as well. And everything in the town was just all about Laurel and Hardy, because one of them, and I don't remember now, one of them is from Harlem, Georgia.
Okay, I was gonna say there had one of them, one or both had to have been born there, right? Because that's
Yeah.
just so. And I lived in Georgia, and I don't remember Harlem, but listen, Georgia has so many little itty bitty towns,
Yes.
right? I mean, with like some of them with almost virtually nothing in them, and you think, why do you live here? But it's like I felt like when I was in Georgia, probably well, it was almost like the Baptist church. I mean, there was one every 3 minutes, but I felt like every 5 or 10 minutes we were in a new town.
Yeah. Yeah. It was crazy.
It is. Yeah. Georgia's a crazy little state. Alrighty. Is that you on a bus?
That is me on a bus. Because that is
on a bus, on a bus.
On a bus, my main mode of transportation. And the reason I sent you this one is partly because it's funny. I'm actually on a bus, but I had that mask made. I don't know how much you know about country music, but all the big stars, one of the first things when they do when they get their recording contract, or make some hit songs or whatever, a sign that they've made it is they go and order a jacket from this designer, Manuel.
Okay.
And Manuel is like this 90-something-year-old guy now from Mexico who's a tailor. So we're talking Marty Stewart, Alan Jackson, George. Anytime you see a country music star, male or female, that has like a jacket or an outfit on that's got handiwork, sparkles, sequins, all that kind of stuff, that is pretty much going to be a Manuel.
I hope Manuel taught somebody else the tricks of his trade, because what are
his daughter?
Wonderful.
She's known as something, I think, a Contessa of something, to do with fabrics and things. So he's been teaching her the craft. And so I follow him on Facebook because I love country music as well. And they were doing masks for the pandemic. And I was like, this is going to be the only time I can afford to buy something from this guy. And so you would just send this, you sent the money with a note saying, I don't know, whatever you want it to be, like a color or a couple of different colors, and they would just surprise you. And so I said, I love country music. I love kind of the Tiffany blue color. And he just sent me this mask. You can see on the side there, it's got the Manuel tag, and it was 4 of the like Hank Williams, those guys, that generation of singers. And unfortunately, it seems I have lost the mask.
Oh,
I know. I don't know how it happened. I don't know if I lost it when I was traveling or something. But thank heavens I have pictures of me wearing it.
yeah.
But it was so special because I just thought, oh, this is the one thing I'll be able to afford from Manuel.
Hey, listen, sometimes that's how you have to do it. You
Well,
know?
especially during the pandemic, right? Like you had to do things to just make you stay mentally okay.
I don't know. The pandemic didn't bother me at all. Not one bit. Not
Oh,
I could have stayed on I wish everybody had been on lockdown for 20 years. It
nope.
didn't bother me a bit.
Oh,
Not one bit. Isn't that crazy?
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
I know
I
people were
couldn't.
losing it, and I was like, "What are you so upset about?" Like it's I love being at home. So, but yes, it was very hard on a lot of people. Now there you are getting ready for your job on a bus, right? Is that a bus?
This is actually the Rocky Mountaineer train.
Oh,
And this lady, such a special story. One of my friends from my church in New Orleans tipped me off and said, in about 6 weeks, there's a friend of mine, kind of affiliated with the church, who's going to be coming up. She's traveling solo, and can you maybe just watch out for her and say hello? So I got her name and everything, and as we got closer to her, knowing she was in Canada now and getting ready to go on her train journey and eventually end up at the station in Vancouver at the end of her journey, I just got this overwhelming sense that I needed to do something special for her. That something was going on, that she just needed something. And so I got, because I have connections, I got them to look at her account online on the train and see if she bought any souvenirs. And she hadn't, so it looked like. So I was like, perfect. So I bought her one of the little teddy bears and had it, I think, I'm trying to remember. Yeah, I had it ready and waiting for her when she got off the train, and we were there waving in the train, and I got to give it to her. And I found out later from my friend, because she got really emotional and she was so thankful. And I was like, oh, okay, like it, to me, it wasn't really a big deal, but obviously it was to her. And I found out later that it was a trip for single people, and they put you with the roommate and blah, blah, blah. And she had something happen where she had a rash on her body
yeah.
during the trip, and her roommate just was so rude and mean to her because of that, and just made the whole experience quite miserable for her.
Hmm.
And she even asked to be switched seats on the train, so at least she didn't have to sit with her, just be with her at night, kind of a thing. And so it had been quite a miserable experience. And then she gets into Vancouver, and there I was waiting with the little bag of goodies from Rocky. And she basically just got really emotional and gave me a big hug and asked for a picture and the whole bit. And so grateful that I've learned to rely on my intuition.
Yes. Well, I'm glad you were able to make a difference for her. And what a horrible person her roommate was.
Right?
What a horrible.
Terrible.
And this lady looks too nice. But if I was a roommate with somebody and they made me miserable, I would just pretend to be batshit crazy. So they
Yeah.
moved out of the room.
Yeah.
I would just sporadically just, act like I was demonized until they left the room during the day and slept with one eye open. I don't like mean people. Mean people suck.
No.
Okay. Now, who is this gentleman? This must be some kind of fancy hotel, and he's like the concierge or the bellhop or something, right?
He is the duck master at the Peabody Hotel.
A duck master, a duck.
The duck master. at the
Wait a minute.
Peabody Hotel in Memphis.
Hold on. DUCK. Duck.
Duck. Yeah. Like quack, quack.
In Memphis?
In Memphis. At the Peabody Hotel.
Does Memphis have a large duck population that I'm not aware of?
Not per se, but it all stems out of a prank that was done back in the early 1900s. And much like our beloved Hotel Vancouver, the Peabody has had two or three different buildings. This is their most current and longest one they've been in. Okay. So when they first opened, they made it into this grand hotel, and there's a fountain in the middle. And these guys were off going hunting and had stayed overnight in the hotel on their way in and out of town. And they thought it would be hilarious to put their duck decoys or whatever in the fountain and leave them there.
Okay.
Thinking they were doing a prank. But it's now turned into a tradition. They loved it. The guests loved the ducks being in the little fountain, the pond. And they decided to make it a thing. The ducks now live in a penthouse built like a replica of the Peabody Hotel.
What?
And they get brought down in the they close off the elevator 45 minutes before they come down for the day. They roll out a red carpet, and the duck master comes down with them, and they go running to the little fountain and hop in, and they stay there for the day. Now, wow. To be fair to the ducks, they actually only live there for 6 months, and they go back to the wild.
Okay.
So if you catch them with a fresh set of ducks, is that how you say it? They're still learning their roles, and they will kind of go off the pathway, so to speak, or like he does a whole thing about the tradition, and it's a whole big thing. And as he's doing his little chat, the ducks can hop out of the fountain and kind of run off on him. He has to gather them back up. But if you go towards the end of the 6 months of those ducks, then they're very well trained. Right. So the second time I went to Memphis, we caught the ducks in a new phase. They were a new bunch of ducks, and they were hopping out of the like the poor guy was so distracted. But this was actually from the very first time I went to Memphis and saw the ducks.
Did somebody stay with the ducks in the penthouse overnight?
Well, they just live there. Like, they're looked after. It's a whole little duck sanctuary, and I'm sure they have security that goes up or something and looks in on them. But they've set up a whole nice little lifestyle for them on the rooftop. And they bring them down and they hang out. I think they bring them down around 9 or 10 in the morning, and they hang out in the fountain. And then at the end of the day, they get walked or like processionaled on the red carpet back to the elevators, back up to their little suite.
And then in chat, Tina just said, she says, I love the Memphis Ducks.
They're amazing.
I've never even heard of these guys. So I'm going to have to Google it after. Listen, I wanted a little duck family for a while. And I was funny because I was thinking about that little duck family the other couple of weeks ago. Yeah, I wanted a mom and a dad. I wanted Puddles and Piddles were going to be the mom and the dad, and then Puddles and Paddles were the mom and the dad, and then Piddles was going to be the baby. But awesome. I've got these two hooligans, and I don't know that those poor ducks would ever get any rest at all. They would probably volunteer at some San Francisco Chinese market just to be executed and hung in the window if they had to live with these hooligans that I have here. Well, that's an incredible story. I knew that guy was some kind of importance. Now here you are on your travels, because you do travel a lot.
Yes.
This is
So
in Austin, Texas. Keep it weird, man. Keep it weird.
keep it weird. I did my best to keep it weird when I was there. I worked at this time, I worked at a clothing store. And it was actually, I worked at Lego for 2 years and I left. And in the 2 years that I was gone, I worked at a clothing store, and a gal I used to hang out with just out of high school walked into the store, and I'm like, Fiona. And she's like, hey, Co, how you doing? I said, I'm good. What's up? Like, what you doing? She goes, oh, I live in Austin now with my husband. I'm like, oh, like, you married Merv or whatever? She's like, yeah, you got a job. We moved. We're in Austin. I was like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to go to Austin. She goes, come down and hang out with me. I don't work, so I can show you around town. 4 months later, I was in Austin, Texas for 2 nights on my way to New Orleans for Mardi Gras.
Fiona didn't have to work because she married Merv Griffin.
Yeah.
Remember him?
Yes, I do.
Oh, Merv. Oh, Merv. All right. Co, tell me those aren't real alligators.
They are so real. There was about 15 of them. And this was it's an alligator park-ish. It's like a rescue center for nuisance gators. So when they wind up in the pool in the backyard of somebody's house, they can't just take them back to wherever they're from, because they can wind up back in that person's house again, right, in their backyard. So they just take them to these sanctuaries where they just hang out and be gators all day. And so this was like a park. You could go in. They do
Florida?
Huh?
Is this in Florida?
No, this is in Louisiana, just outside Shreveport. So I was, it was actually my first.
Louisiana has swamps too, right?
Oh yeah, swamps and bayous.
That's what they like. That's why they like Florida so much.
Yes, yeah. So it was my first trip after the pandemic, and I'd been home for forever. I was just like, I need to get out of here. I need to go back to Louisiana. I need to go do some cool stuff, and I'm just gonna spend money, like just make myself happy. So I found out about this park where you could feed the gators with a little like fishing pole. So I was literally like leaning over with a fishing pole with a thick wire hook that you put a hot dog wiener on, but like only a little part of a hot dog wiener. And then you just like wait for the gators to come up. I had people taking pictures of me and shooting YouTube videos and stuff. And they were like, is it okay? I'm like, yeah, but don't you want to do this yourself? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm not crazy. I was like, well, apparently I am. So yeah, sure. Like film away, whatever. I was there for an hour and a half feeding those gators. They came up. I had about 8 of them hanging around me right underneath, just looking up at me. I was talking to them. We were having a great old time. And, I love alligators. They're so fierce.
They look very, very close in that picture.
They are.
Okay.
I'm up on about 6 feet or 8 feet above the water where they are. And there is like a wood railing and some chicken wire between us.
I have to have a lot more than that in between me and them. I'm going to tell you that. Okay. Who is this little dandy?
This is country singer Aaron Pritchett. He's a local boy. And we've been friends for a long, long, long time. And he was, he actually used to DJ in the country bars here while he was trying to make his way into the business. And then he got a band and they started getting booked for all the bars, the country bars here. And we just had a really good friendship and very encouraging of each other's dreams and stuff. So anytime he was playing, I would go see him. And now he plays like at regular, smaller concert venues. Like here in Vancouver, he's played the Roxy, and he's a couple of times and stuff. And so I always try to go out and support him. And we've been friends. This picture was probably about 10 or 12 years ago, but we've been friends since probably the mid 90s, I'd say.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's quite a long friendship. Hey, country bars are fun. I think I went into my first country bar. I bet you I was 16. And I went to a lot of bars where I was way underage. I mean, not even 18, not even like 20, like 6 months away from my 21st birthday. Like 16, 17, and country bars are fun. And
they are so fun.
I did the Texas two-step and all that stuff. I had a great time. They're a lot of fun. But he's a little cutie pie. I like country music. I listen to it every now and again. I like all kinds of music. Well, one of my most favorite songs is by Cole Swindell.
Okay.
Called "Ain't Worth the Whiskey." Have you heard
I'll
of
have
that
to
song?
check that song out.
It's a good song. It's a really good song. And I get up here when I decide to have a party up here by myself, a dance party. Oh no, we go to like 2 in the morning. It's crazy up here. Up here, just living my best life. And up here, I always listen to Cole. I like that, Cole Swindell. And I love there's one by Garth Brooks, and something about she's kind of highfalutin and he's just a normal guy, I can't remember the name of it. Something about he's gonna go drink someplace else or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
But I like that.
There's so many good Garth Brooks songs.
And Hank Williams, I like the one Low Places. Friends in Low Places, right?
That's actually that's Garth Brooks.
Oh, that's the song I'm thinking about.
Yeah, Friends in Low Places.
That's the Garth Brooks song. I don't know why I thought it was Hank Williams. Hank Williams.
Because it's something that Hank Williams Jr. would have done. It's his style.
Yeah, and because Hank Williams Jr. Hangs out with Kid Rock.
Yes. Yeah. Those two just seem like a whole lot of trouble wrapped up together.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding? They better. If I was either one of their wives, I'd be like, you better keep that shit on the porch. Don't bring it in my house. Don't bring your crazy in my house. Those two, yeah. Okay. All right. So you're a DC girl, obviously.
Yes, this is at Build-A-Bear. And one of my most treasured friends in New Orleans, she was the manager of one of the shops that I used to go to get all my New Orleans t-shirts. In fact, this t-shirt I'm wearing today is from that shop. And Pam has been an absolute inspiration to me. She was diagnosed with breast cancer, and it was pretty aggressive. And we were talking, and she said, I'm going in with a positive attitude because that's the only way to do this. And every single week of my chemo, I'm going to go dressed as like a badass woman, right? Like a superhero or whatever. So each week it's going to be different. And she had shared this with her nurse for her chemo sessions and stuff. And she's like me. I tell my story, right? I'm a firm believer of telling your story, telling what you're up to, telling what you're going to do. You never know where you're going to meet your next job, boss, boyfriend, friend, great experience, hilarious story, crazy moment, whatever. So here she is telling her story of how she's going to handle her chemo. And she's like, the very first one was Wonder Woman. So this was I think it was Batgirl. Yeah, it would have been Batgirl Day. So it was 2 or 3 chemos in. But on her first day of chemo, she didn't know it, I dressed up in Wonder Woman stuff. Her chemo nurse dressed up in Wonder Woman, and a whole bunch of friends posted pictures of their dogs, cats in Wonder Woman costumes, them in costume. And we just, without even knowing it, flooded her Facebook on each chemo day, on that first chemo day, with all that one theme. And so it just became a thing where everyone around her did it. And of course, I love Batman. I think he's kind of an arrogant jerk. And he reminds me of all my ex-boyfriends rolled into one. So I was super excited when we got to Batman Day.
I see the excitement. It's literally all over your body. You know, so I'm a Marvel girl, and Marvel and DC superheroes just couldn't be any more different in my mind. In my mind, DC has just always been a little dark for me, where I think that the Marvel characters, they're a little more goofy, and I can relate to that, you know?
Yeah.
Like I don't have a crush on the guy that plays Iron Man, but I most definitely, Robert Downey Jr., I do not have a crush on him, but I most definitely have a crush on Tony Stark.
Nice.
100%.
Yeah.
Tony Stark is just wicked sexy to me. Robert Downey Jr., not so much. Isn't that funny?
Well, people ask me, who's your favorite Batman? And I always say, I work at the Lego store. Lego Batman is my favorite.
Right.
This was a great one. This was a few years back during Mardi Gras.
Oh, I thought Vegas, because Vegas they have these people that dress up as characters on the street.
Yeah, no, this is actually New Orleans. And wow. I literally just arrived in town, and my friends were picking me up from the bus station, I think, or something. And they're like, oh, we're off to a parade. What do you want to do? I'm like, I just need to drop my stuff off at the house. And then like, I'm going to come downtown for like whatever. And they were actually in the parade because my housemates at the time that I stayed with most of the time are absolute Ghostbuster fanatics. Like they built a hearse into the Ghostbusters car.
Hey, it's the wind. We're having a little bit of a storm. We're watching the trees are going bananas and moving around like 2 feet away from them, and it's the wind.
So we were on our way down to pick up one of their Ghostbusters guys, and we pull up outside Canal Place, and we're standing there and just kind of hanging out, and all of a sudden I hear this guy come up, and he's like, "Hey man, can you like, can I get a picture taken with your car?" And he's like, well, and his voice went kind of funny. And I'm like, I for some reason I was looking the other way, not paying attention to what was going on. He's like, I will absolutely take a picture. You can sit in the car like you're, a Ghostbuster. He goes, but I need you to take a picture with my friend first. And I turned around like, what is he doing? Who's he selling my soul to? And I looked and I was like, oh, it's Batman. And Luke was like, yeah, like, why did you think? I'm like, I don't know. I hadn't turned around yet. I didn't. And I was just standing there just in awe. Like, he just looked fantastic.
I bet you would be wild at like a Comic-Con.
Yeah.
Right? I bet you would. Okay. Now, this girl looked to me, I'm telling you, like a little mini Taylor Swift. I know it's
that is exactly it. So, I, about 1.5 years ago, became a Swiftie. I worked for Gray Line West Coast Sightseeing, and I talked to them in the summer about what are we going to do when all the Swifties come to Vancouver, and they were like, oh, I don't know, like, we don't, blah, 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 whatever. And then all of a sudden they come up to me the end of the summer, and they're like, do you want to host Taylor Swift karaoke on the double decker? I was like, why are you even asking me that question? Like, just assume me. So this was our very first session of Taylor Swift karaoke. And this little gal came up to me and I looked at her and I was like, holy cow, you look like, she goes, Taylor Swift? I'm like, yeah, like this is uncanny. I said, I'm guessing you've heard this before. And she goes, yeah, like about 100 times today. And I said, can I have a picture taken with you? Would that be? She goes, yeah, you'll be like the 15th person today. She had a little bit of sass to her, but she was an absolute doll. So that is me dressed up. I had on a black 22 hat that I gave out when we did the 22 song in karaoke. Of course, that day I gave it to her. And that was just like such a good moment. So much fun.
Karaoke? Did she sing anything?
They all did. It was like a typical anything Taylor, like everyone just sang. In fact, it was the easiest karaoke I've ever had to host, because I also did the Christmas karaoke on the double decker for them. And those ones you had to like, okay, people, I can't hear you. Let's sing. I've got a prize. I've got a this. But the Swifties, all we had to do is I made up a playlist, a little research, did a little cross-checking, blah, 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 made up a playlist, and all I would do is hit play, and we all just sang to everything the whole 2 hours.
How fun.
It was the best.
Because I don't know if they're still making this show, but I love that show, Carpool Karaoke. Because I like that guy, too.
Yep.
He pissed everybody off for I don't even know why for a while, but I liked him, too. I think he's really funny. Okay. Is this the one that starts in Nashville?
No, this is in Fort Worth, Texas.
Wow. Okay.
So this was the last trip I did before the pandemic, and I, just as a way of kind of bringing my social media presence out, had got this idea of going to different, when I travel, finding out if there's a Tiffany's nearby and doing a photo shoot at the nearest Tiffany's, but in the vibe of that city. So this was Fort Worth. So we've got the denim jacket, and I had black and Tiffany blue cowboy boots and everything. My photographer from Snapper did not show up. And so I went in, I'm like, oh man, like explain what I was doing. And they were like, oh, that's so cool. And I said, so I need to just have a picture from here. And, could somebody just come out and take a picture of me? Well, that lady came out and took a picture of me. Not only did she take a picture, she took about 15 pictures of me and got some really cool shots. I'm like, it's like, you know what you're doing. And she goes, I have a little ballerina who's a bit of a princess and likes to have pictures done in all of her costumes for her shows. So I've learned a thing or two. Turns out that was the manager of that store, I found out later.
The manager of that store in
Texas. Fort Worth.
I didn't even know that Tiffany's had stores anywhere other than New York.
Not a lot, but they do have them, even around the world. But yeah, Fort Worth had one. 2 days later, I was doing a photo shoot in Dallas. I've done a photo shoot, of course, at the flagship store. And then I had pictures done while they were next door in the Nike town, while they were getting the flagship renovated and turned into what is now the landmark Tiffany's.
Wow.
And so I've done a few. I want to do a photo shoot in Vancouver. And the Vancouver one, I would get one of those bubble umbrellas and gumboots to go with a tutu or a dress or something.
And you made your own. I make tutus too.
Yeah. So that one almost needed its own suitcase.
Yeah.
It's floor length, and it is so big and puffy.
And Lynn says that there's a Sydney or there's a Tiffany's in Sydney.
Yes, most of the major cities around the world have a Tiffany's. And
Wow.
then now, of course, my friends will be like, I was in Vienna, there's a Tiffany's.
Wow. I had no idea. All right. What's going on here?
This was almost 10 years ago exactly. For my 45th birthday, I threw myself a second line parade in New Orleans. And this is actually my friend Pam that had the breast cancer.
What is a second line parade?
So a second line is, if you've heard of the term of a jazz funeral, when people pass in New Orleans, they do the church thing and then they take the casket down to the graveyard, and they do a parade of it. And so they'll have the brass band and all of this, and the family all up front, and then the people, the friends, join in behind them as the second line.
Okay.
And anybody on the street can join in as they make their way to the gravesite for the burial.
Okay.
And so now second lines are just part of the celebration and culture in New Orleans. A lot of times a company will have a convention in New Orleans and will actually hire a band and do the whole second line thing. And
Yeah.
it's such a big thing that the police department in New Orleans has a parade planning division.
What?
I kid you not. There
Lynn
is
says this is like in James Bond at the start of Live and Let Die.
So there's a comedian, I think it's Hannibal somebody, and he does a whole bit on, did you know you can like destroy traffic in less than 24 hours in New Orleans? You can just decide to have your own parade. He's like, I want to move to New Orleans and have a parade. Why? Because like it's Wednesday, we're going to have a parade.
Right.
And he's like, and you can like, so you hire a brass band. Cost me about $1,000 US to do this. So we had a small brass band. A friend of mine who's a culture bearer in the city found out some, asked me a few questions, managed to get the very first brass band I've ever heard in New Orleans, a band called TBC, To Be Continued. And she hired them to be my band. So we went up, we met up at the Hotel Monteleone for drinks. They surprised me with a king cake. Talked a baker into baking one out of season because of all the volunteer work I do, and they told him all about me. And he's like, I'm superstitious, but for your amazing friend, I will bake this king cake out of season. They did it in Tiffany colors with candy pearls. We had the cake, and then we walked down to St. Louis Cathedral to Jackson Square, where we met my band and my two cops on Harleys that were our escorts. And so we planned out a route up to the Candlelight Lounge. And the Hotel Monteleone, by the way, is where Truman Capote grew up in his formative years. And he's the one who wrote Breakfast at Tiffany's, the book.
Wow.
And so we did it all on a Breakfast at Tiffany's theme. And we had a mile-long route that we walked while the band serenaded us. And they have one cop that goes on ahead, blocks the intersection. The band rolls through, and then the one behind us pulls through and goes to the next intersection. And people just came out of their the buildings, the stores, the shops, onto their balconies from the French Quarter, joined in. We started with about 8 of us and ended up with about 40 of us by the time we got to the end of our second line. Then in the middle of the street, right out in front of the Candlelight Lounge, the band played, struck up Happy Birthday, and all the neighbors came out on their porch and they were waving their white hankies. And then we went inside and had a night of dancing to another brass band that turned out one of my friends was a trumpet player. And it was,
I want to have a parade.
Right?
I do. Now I feel like I need to have a parade.
Everybody should go to New Orleans once and have a parade.
Oh, I've got a big backyard and neighbors who already think I'm crazy. So I'll just have a parade back there. I'm going to get one of those big drums and a thing go around the neck for the harmonica. And I'm going to go and I'm going to have somebody throw ticker tape down on me, and it's going to be the best day ever. All right, what are you doing here?
I live my life in Vancouver as though I were in New Orleans, so I celebrate all the big things. And that would mean that this is me on Mardi Gras Day, about 5 years ago, maybe. No, 4 years. I don't know. And so I was, oh no, I've got black short hair. So that must have been about 7 years ago. So friends of mine here, one of my old pastors does a pancake dinner on Mardi Gras Day. And so I baked a king cake and took it from Vancouver all the way to North Vancouver on the bus and went dressed in Mardi Gras colors because that's how I roll on Mardi Gras Day. If I'm working at Lego, I wear purple, green, and gold beads with my uniform. Like I live like I'm in New Orleans.
Fun. All right. Listen, we really are a little bit over time, and I already knew we weren't going to have enough time to talk about everything that we wanted to talk about. But you guys, if you have enjoyed this time with Co does a lot of really interesting things. This is her. Hello. I know it's the wind. Oh, this wind is making them crazier than normal. Okay. On that note, it's good we're winding up. Hey, ma'am. No, ma'am. Thank you. Just determined to sit there and bark at that tree. All right. This is Co's YouTube channel, Girl on a Bus Adventures. Please go there and subscribe to her channel. She always does a lot of fun things, and she posts her events on the live stream events calendar. So go there and support her. And there it is. If you want to do it that way, there it is. Cole, thank you for spending. Hopefully everybody got that. Thank you for spending time with us.
Yeah, thank you.
You've definitely had a lot of great adventures. And you are a master storyteller, and really, I hope everybody subscribes to your channel and shows up for some of your streams because they're a lot of fun. You're a lot of fun. And
thank you.
Trust me, you guys, we didn't even scratch the surface with stuff that we could have talked about. But you see what we usually try to keep it about an hour, right? But you see why the pictures are they're critical for people really to get to know you and understand what makes you tick. And of course, they also help the spotlight kind of move along, or we could easily just be here for hours, right? So I know we've talked about you being a Swiftie. I'm not a Swiftie by any stretch of it, but I do like her. And so we started with When the Saints Go Marching In. This is one of my favorite songs by Taylor Swift.
Yep.
And I'm just like, damn. It's 7 a.m. Tweet is a knockout, but you say it in a tweet is a cop out. It's like, hey, are you okay? Hey, no fun. And 6 and stones never broke my phone, so uh-oh. You need to calm down. You're being too loud.
I get told that all the time. I'm too loud.
Oh, my gal, you need to calm down. Oh, thank you so much for spending time
again
with us.
Thank you.
Thank you to everybody that joined. I hope you had a great time. I know you were looking forward to this.
Oh
And
yeah. Yeah. This has been a lot of fun.
well,
And
I love having you, and I hope you get some more supporters and subscribers to your channel. Everybody, look for Co's streams on the live stream events calendar. And Co, we need to get you to do a short of your YouTube, of a YouTube stream with some music maybe, and add it to the live stream events channel to get
yes,
yourself some more subscribers. It's what we
sounds like
want.
a good plan.
That's what we're here for. We're here. Lynn and I are one of our most important things is to support the guides who are on the calendar, and we love you, and well, we just love you, and so we wish you nothing but the best, and we will see you soon. Co, thank you for everybody in the chat as well. Lynn did put a support link for Co's Buy Me a Coffee in the chat, so look for that. And on that note, I'm going to sign off. And Co, I will talk to you soon. Goodbye, my friends. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody. Thank you very much.